I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. Please be seated. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends. Welcome to the Delta Battery, 1st Battalion, 40th Field Artillery Basic Combat Training Graduation Ceremony. Today marks the successful completion of the demanding requirements of 9.5 weeks of rigorous Army basic combat training for these soldiers. This graduation is your special event too. Share with your soldiers. You are invited to move about and take pictures as you like. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation and the playing of the national anthem. The invocation will be given by the 1st Battalion, 40th Field Artillery Chaplain, Chaplain Shipma.
Let us pray. Almighty God, thank you for this graduation ceremony and all it means to everyone gathered here. Thank you for all who have made this day possible, the drill sergeants and cadre, parents, spouses, family, and friends. Thank you for these men and women whom you have sustained through basic training and are becoming soldiers in the United States Army. Be now their strength. Guide and sustain them in the cause of justice and freedom. May they serve with distinction and humility. May your blessing be upon them and upon this great nation which we together serve. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the commander of Delta Battery, 1st Battalion, 40th Field Artillery, Captain Yarborough.
Good morning, Colonel Kanzi, Command Sergeant Major Harding, Lieutenant Colonel Aceron, Command Sergeant Major Bowens. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am Captain Jeremy Yarborough, and I am an American soldier. On behalf of the Fort Sill Command Team, welcome to Fort Sill, the 434th Field Artillery Brigade, and the Delta Battery, 1st of the 40th Field Artillery graduation ceremony. Thank you all for joining us today as we commemorate the accomplishments of your warriors and our newest American soldiers. Before we continue to move forward in the ceremony, in the celebration of America's next generation, we must take time to honor those who have served before us. With the military veterans and those currently serving that are seated among us, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for all you have done. 10 weeks ago, these 123 warriors seated before you left home, many for the first time, to become part of something bigger than themselves. Although they arrived as individuals, they are leaving as members of a time-honored team. They have worked and succeeded in every task that was put before them because failure was not an option. As they tell you, it takes more than boots and a uniform to make an American soldier. They have been instilled with the fundamentals of discipline and have embodied the core Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These fundamentals and values are acquired and put into practice every day through tough, realistic, and safe training. You may have already heard the stories about the sting of the gas chamber, the nervousness of throwing a live hand grenade, the anxiety of rappelling from Treadwell Tower, or the pride of passing the final Army physical fitness test. These stories are just a small representation of their overall experience. In just over 67 days, they have trained on their primary weapon system, foot marched more than 60 miles, learned how to perform life-saving measures, and experienced the beautiful, ever-changing weather of Oklahoma. Every training event is a building block towards forming a foundation of skills these soldiers will use every day in life and combat. They've shaped these skills by training like their lives and the lives of their battle buddies depend on it. Furthermore, they understand that the soldier's creed and the warrior ethos are not just words to memorize, but words for American soldiers to live by. These soldiers have met every challenge head-on and succeeded due in large part to the positive leadership and demanding environment created by the Army's finest non-commissioned officers. These outstanding coaches, mentors, and role models taught your soldier the true meaning of discipline and teamwork. The drill sergeant's professionalism, competence, and dedication to standards have made a lifelong impression on your soldiers. Most importantly, these soldiers would not be here today if not for the undying love and support of you, their family and friends. I applaud you all and ask that you continue to support your soldier throughout their military careers. They became American soldiers for you, their family, and their friends. Soldiers of Delta Battery, I extend my gratitude to you for the sacrifices you have made to become an American soldier during a time of war. By taking this courageous step at a dangerous time in our history, you have truly set yourself apart from your fellow citizens as defenders of freedom and the American way of life. You are all well-trained, You are mentally, physically, and emotionally tough. I would be honored to lead each and every one of you on today's battlefield. Godspeed and good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our newest American soldiers. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. A West Point graduate, he served as a rifle company commander with 10th Mountain at Fort Drum, and more recently was chief of plans for the 7th Army Training Group at Grafenwehr, Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the current commander of 2nd Battalion, 20th Field Artillery, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Knight.
Colonel Conzi, Sergeant Major Harding, Lieutenant Colonel Asseron, my battle buddy, Sergeant Major Bowens, family and friends of today's graduates, most importantly, these trainees that become soldiers here today, welcome to the graduation for Basic Combat Training Class 41-19. Good afternoon. Great to see you all here in Southwest Oklahoma on a fine Southwest Oklahoma day. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Andrew J. Knight, and I'm an American soldier. I'd first like to thank the drill sergeants in the chain of command and the Delta Battery, Delta Dogs for their long hours, dedication, and professional excellence in teaching, training, and transforming these graduates into the high-caliber soldiers that will move on to their next stage of training. Second, to the graduating soldiers, congratulations on this most important milestone in your careers. It is something that you will remember for the rest of your lives, regardless of what happens from here. I'll admit that I'm a little jealous here today. There's a grand adventure in front of all of you graduates as you continue on to advanced individual training and eventually to your first unit. Within a year, many of you will find yourselves in other countries, on other continents, or learning about other cultures in order to partner with America's valuable allies. You're embarking on an Army career, whether it's one enlistment or 20-plus years of service to the nation. Not many people get to have the experiences that lie ahead of you. To start, though, let's take a look at who this class is and what challenges they overcame to get here. Throughout basic combat training, you learned discipline, push yourselves past the point you thought you could go, learn to work as a team, and most importantly, you form friendships that I know will last a lifetime. In this graduating class, we have future officer candidates, engineer, field artillery, air defense, aviation, electronic warfare, military intelligence, medical service, transportation, ordnance, and quartermaster soldiers. While they were here, their military specialty didn't matter much. They all took the same challenges, met the same standards, and earned the title of U.S. Army Soldier. The most significant event that happened during their training was the 3rd field training exercise called the Forge. The Forge was the final test of fortitude and knowledge for these trainees. The training experience was particularly grueling as they marched 25 to 30 miles during the exercise in temperatures that reached as high as 108 degrees. The battalion change of command ceremony that took place during their training at the Fort Sill Polo Field gave trainees an opportunity to witness one of the more formal traditions of military service. It is customs and traditions, such as parades and ceremonies, that link the current generation of soldiers to those that came before us. A very unique part of this combat training experience was having the local television station follow the trainees from start to finish, reporting on at least one training event per week. Channel 7 KSWO interviews gave the opportunity for trainees to give firsthand, unbiased accounts of the rigors of basic combat training and to explain how it met or exceeded their expectations. All the Delta Dogs drill sergeants had a positive impact on the development of the trainees and set a fine example of leadership each day. Drill Sergeant Reyes and Drill Sergeant Rodriguez were singled out by the battery for their impressive leadership. And just so the families all know, basic combat training isn't without a little bit of entertainment. I was told that following the Forge, after the trainees ate their warrior meal that they earned through all their effort and sweat, a few impersonations of Drill Sergeant Howell, Drill Sergeant Smith, and Drill Sergeant Rowe might have drawn a few laughs. Going forward, I'd like to offer a few thoughts that might help all of you soldiers along the way. There are several things that you hear in the Army that aren't necessarily true. One of the most incorrect being that you don't have a lot of personal choices. Trust me, you'll be able to make plenty of decisions for yourself. First, You get to decide what kind of soldier you want to be. I can guarantee that if you decide to be the best soldier that you can be, there will always be opportunities for you. Soldiers that commit to being professionals, making good personal choices, and seeking out your best leaders to emulate will advance rapidly, and sooner, rather than later, you will find yourselves charged with the care of others. You also get to decide what kind of leader you want to be. The greatest honor any of us will ever have is to lead soldiers. Leading is much more than giving orders. In fact, that's the least of it. And your rank and position do not determine your ability to lead. Being a leader means that you care for your subordinates and their families and invest in helping your subordinates reach their goals and dreams. At times, it is challenging. At times, it will be disappointing. But I promise that it will always be rewarding. To truly succeed in the Army, you must make the choice to adhere to the Army values. You have to live those values every day, even on the cold nights in the field or the hot days that you're foot marching. During the long hours that all of us work, or when we're far from home, use the values as your guidepost, even when others don't. If you're the best soldier that you can be, and the best leader that you can be, and let the Army values guide your decisions, you will be a true professional that will inspire the next generation of Army soldiers. In closing, always keep the warrior ethos close to your heart. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. Enjoy the next stage of your training, and good luck on your Army journey. Phantom lethal, fire strong, tough as diamonds, seek, strike, destroy. Let's graduate.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Knight. In keeping with the 434th Field Artillery Brigade's policy of recognizing superior performance, awards will be presented to those soldiers that have distinguished themselves during the training cycle. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to come forward and take pictures at any time, but please do not interfere with the movement of the soldiers to and from their seats. Thank you. The Distinguished Honor Graduate of the Cycle Award is presented to the soldier who demonstrates overall excellence in training and character development throughout this training cycle. This cycle's Distinguished Honor Grad is
Private Joseph Christensen, Vernal, Utah.
The Basic Rifle Marksmanship Award is presented to the soldier that attains the highest score during live fire qualifications with the M4 Alpha 1. This cycle's recipient scored 38 hits out of 40. The Marksmanship Award is presented to
Private Edsel Bichat, Miami, Florida.
The Physical Fitness Award is presented to the soldier who achieved the highest score on the final Army Physical Fitness Test. This cycle's recipient scored 300 out of 300 possible points.
Private First Class Igor Rajpa, Sebring, Florida.
The Private George Watson Award is presented to the soldier who demonstrates overall excellence in leadership and service throughout the training cycle. Private Watson joined the Army in September 1942, completed his initial entry training at Fort Benning, Georgia, and was assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 29th Quartermaster Regiment, bound for the Pacific Theater when he met his ultimate demise. His unit was on board the Dutch steamer USAT Jacob near Porlock Harbor, New Guinea, on March 8, 1943, when suddenly they came under devastating attack by Japanese bombers. After sustaining several direct hits, the ship had to be abandoned. Even as enemy fire continued to rain down, it was at that precise moment that under those very harrowing circumstances that Private Watson demonstrated the utmost courage under fire. Forsaking any thought of his own safety, he swam back and forth across the deadly scene, dragging his comrades to the few available life rafts so that they might live. Over and over again, Private Watson's selfless actions and extraordinary valor in the famous words, "at the risk of life, above and beyond the call of duty," certainly warrant his being awarded the Medal of Honor. The Private George Watson Award is presented to
Private First Class Matthew Izavchek, Chicago, Illinois.
The following soldiers are designated as honor graduates. Their superior performance has placed them in the top 10% of graduating class. These soldiers have received a letter of commendation from the 1st Battalion, 40th Field Artillery Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel Asheron, which has been placed in their official files. We ask that you please hold your applause until all honor graduates have been recognized. The honor graduates for Class 4119 are
Private First Class, Celine Ashby, Mesa, Arizona.
Specialist Harrison Broquet, Denver, Iowa. Private First Class, George Chern, Queens, New York.
Private First Class, Briar Hanlon, Geneva, Illinois.
Private First Class, Deborah Kelly, Mons, Belgium.
Private Shalia Lamar, Vidalia, Georgia.
Private First Class, Amanda Nelson, Rochester, New York.
Private Dayton Pennington, Bloomfield, Kentucky.
Private Jeffrey Pippinger, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Private Robert Rhodes, Greenville, South Carolina.
Private Ty Sebesta, Salado, Texas.
Specialist Ashton Surpass, Gulfport, Mississippi.
Private Brittany Smith, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Specialist Phoebe Stark, Salt Lake, Utah.
Please give these exceptional soldiers a round of applause. And now for the rest of graduating Class 4119, please hold your applause until all soldiers have crossed the stage. During the training cycle, there are certain standards that have to be met in order to be distinguished as the Honor Platoon. For Class 4119, 1st Platoon has met these standards and is distinguished as Honor Platoon. 1st Platoon is led by their drill sergeant,
Staff Sergeant Melissa Smith, Reno, Nevada.
The graduates of 1st Platoon Pit Bulls are
Private Brian Acevedo, Del Rio, Texas.
Private John Emerson Actra, Eva Beach, Hawaii.
Specialist Femi Akingbade, J City, New Jersey.
Specialist Rubens Alert, Orlando, Florida.
Private First Class, Shantoy Abersley, Tampa, Florida.
Private Mark Andres, Florence, Kentucky.
Specialist Casey Angel, Lynn, Indiana.
Private First Class Christian Banda, Chicago, Illinois.
Private Michael Vance, Shabana, Illinois.
Private Anastasia Barr, Austin, Texas.
Specialist Igor Bandega, Brooklyn, New York.
Private Patrick Bach, San Diego, California.
Private First Class, Logan Bame, Kansas City, Missouri.
Private Ethan Boyks, St. Louis, Missouri.
Private Taylor Brent, Denver, Colorado.
Specialist Ashley Bryan, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Private Austin Burns, Hayta, Missouri.
Private Kristen Castro, Chalampago, Guam.
Private Luis Cebollero, Gurabo, Puerto Rico.
Private Caleb Centers, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Private Aaron Chaparro, Brooklyn, New York.
Private First Class Heather Chauka, Chicago, Illinois.
Private Truro Clark, Brooklyn, New York.
Private Faith Conley, Broken Bow, Nebraska.
Private Dominic Cordova, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Private First Class Evan Cody, Albany, New York. Private Caleb Cupid, Ruston, Louisiana.
2nd Platoon is led by their drill sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Miriam Reyes, Yuma, Arizona.
The graduates of 2nd Platoon Mad Dogs are
Private Kevin Zarnecki, Arvada, Colorado.
Private First Class Aquila Davy, Palm Beach, Florida.
Private Emmanuel DeFore, Ithaca, New York.
Private Eduardo Dominguez, Kapaa, Hawaii.
Private First Class Carlos Escarino, Sullivan City, Texas.
Private First Class Paulo Esteban, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Private Olivia Feccioli, Fairbanks, Alaska.
Private First Class Yusuf Fakori, San Diego, California.
Private First Class Danielle Fentress, Norfolk, Virginia.
Private Dakota Field, Bucksport, Maine.
Specialist Ruth Flores, Brownsville, Texas.
Private Logan Fontenot, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Private Evan Fowler, Franklin, Massachusetts.
Private Cody Gilson, Tallahassee, Alabama.
Private Taylor Gerard, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Private First Class Johnny Gomez, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Private Corey Gonzalez, Bradenton, Florida.
Private Lisbeth Gonzalez, Fresno, California.
Private Jackson Gormley, Salina, Kansas.
Private Melissa Grant, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Private Patrice Gray, Boise City, Oklahoma.
Specialist Philip Griffith, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Private Isabela Guzman, Fort Myers, Florida.
Private Malcolm Hammond, Edgartown, Massachusetts.
Private Jordan Helms, Jacksonville, Florida.
Private First Class Nicholas Henderson, Conway, Arkansas.
Specialist Nicole Hidalgo, Los Angeles, California. Private Kira Hoffman, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Private Todd Hollabaugh, Fairhope, Alabama.
Private David Howard, Kansas City, Missouri.
Private Isabel Howard, Yuba City, California.
Private Shane Irwin, Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
Private Kevin Jackson, Monroe, Louisiana.
Private Reese Johnson, Richmond, Virginia.
Specialist Daniela Julian, Von Army, Texas.
Private Caleb Key, Live Oak, Florida.
3rd Platoon is led by their senior drill sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Jeremy Sumrall, Rochester, New Hampshire.
The graduates of 3rd Platoon Wolfpack are
Private Emily Klepper, Rancho Palos Verdes, California.
Specialist Gerard Quake, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Lambert, Braidwood, Illinois.
Private Matthew Lang, Conway Springs, Kansas.
Private First Class Amanda Lawrence, Chesapeake, Virginia.
Private Jacob Loden, Grandview, Tennessee.
Private Deanza Lopez, San Diego, California.
Private Justin Luna, St. Louis, Missouri.
Private Lauren Macarecci, Frederick, Maryland.
Private First Class Jean-Benoît Manin, Orlando, Florida.
Private Ashley McCall, Loveland, Colorado.
Private Zachary McCorney, San Diego, California.
Private Cassian Meisner, Bryant, Alabama.
Specialist Raul Medellin, Moreno Valley, California.
Specialist Patrick Meyer, Laramie, Wyoming.
Private Arvin Metal, Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands.
Specialist Emily Miller, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Private First Class Emily Vusilevich, St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Specialist Danica Netto, Auburn, Maine.
Specialist Matthew Nelson, Provo, Utah.
Private Rosie Ochoa, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Private Justin Ogles, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Private First Class Femi Ogden-Bentley, Denver, Colorado.
Private First Class Jihoon Park, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Specialist Brenton Peacock, Fayetteville, Georgia.
Private Joseph Pennell, Bristol, Wisconsin.
Private First Class Richard Fan, Lebanon, Missouri.
Private Trevor Prince, Brayton, Florida.
Private Rodrigo Reyes, Russellville, Arkansas.
Private First Class Paloma Rivera, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
4th Platoon is led by their senior drill sergeant.
Staff Sergeant Kenneth Howell, Columbus, Georgia.
The graduates of 4th Platoon Bulldogs are
Private First Class Alexander Rogers Paulus, Miami, Florida.
Private Daniela Romero, Austin, Texas.
Private Kiefer Rosado,